Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm a multi-class programmer and designer when I run duty calls. And this is Lino.
Yes, I'm the game design lead on Victoria 3. Today is obviously a big day.
Yeah, we're releasing 1.9. We're releasing our mechanics pack, Charters of Commerce. What can players expect?
What can players expect? I mean, we will show some stuff today in the time to sweeten you the wait until we actually go live on Steam. And then, we're going to make a tour. Of course, the Charters of Commerce is very much focused around companies and trade. And trade is also a big part of the free update that we have done. So we've revamped the whole trade system, and we're going to show that off for a bit and then jump into all the other fancy stuff that we've been doing. How's it going, guys? We have chats open, obviously. If you want to put out any questions, we're happy to answer them. So this is not going to be like, we don't really have a play goal or anything like that, right? Like in the streams that Martin and Daniel did. So we're just going to show off, and if you have any interesting questions, then we're happy to answer those as well. But we'll do so while kind of like showing off what the 1.9 update and Charters of Commerce has to offer. Yeah. So maybe let's start with the trade, I would suggest.
Yeah.
It's the biggest part of the free update. And it comes with the introduction of the world market.
Yeah, you have this big button here when you open your market, where you can go to the world market and see what's going on there.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of like manually setting up trade routes between countries, you now have a lot of it automated via the world market. So trade centers in your country will basically try to go for the highest profit and engage in the world market to sell goods or buy goods that are in demand in the state that the trade center's in. And this is also important, an important distinction, that the trade centers are actually caring about their own state and not like their whole country or market that you are in. Yeah, maybe we can click one of the trade centers and check, because then we can see they generate a trade capacity which they use to conduct the trade. And then in the middle of the window, next to the reserves of the building, we can also see what they're trading in import and export goods. Yeah, exactly there. So yeah, this is a really major change that we're doing with this update. Is treaty trade hard to pull off? Not really, I would say. You're the expert on this, actually. Alex was basically like leading the development of the new treaty system, which we will talk about, of course. Yeah, exactly.
So you might be thinking like, yeah, but before in the old system, you could set up specific trade routes if you wanted some good in particular. But now that we don't have those trade routes anymore and we have the world market, we wanted to replace some of that strategic level actions with you still being able to do something. So if you want rubber from some country, you can set up that kind of trade. And the way we do that is through the new feature of treaties. Treaties are this new way we have of doing diplomacy between countries. And essentially, it's taking a lot of the old diplomatic actions and pacts that you might be familiar with, like alliances, defensive pacts, investment rights, and so on. And instead of you just negotiating or you just like proposing them on a one-by-one case, we let you mix and match. So like if you want an alliance with France and they say, hey, I'm not too sold on this, you can try to sweeten the deal and add some money transfer. That's probably not an amazing deal for us here, but I mean, it allows you to craft these treaties and to offer things in return if you really want something.
Yeah, and the goods transfer, like the more strategic goods transfer, is a part of this, right? So you can basically choose from any goods and see what you care about or what the other country might care about that they are interested in. And then you should be able to set up still like more strategic trade rather than the automated one. Exactly. And this, of course, I think also improves relations with the other country, right? If I'm not mistaken. So it's also good to have that.
Essentially, the way that these treaties work is that we have this concept of articles. Articles are the things that actually do things in these treaties, and they have different effects in all kinds of ways, right? Both in what they do, but also in the details of like relations, for instance. Another concept that also comes from the articles is tied to this idea of a binding period. All treaties will have some kind of binding period, which is for how long the treaty is legally binding, let's say. During that period, if you were to want to withdraw from the treaty, that would lead to some penalties, and these penalties come from the articles you have. After the binding period, each part is free to go as they want if they don't want to continue with the treaty. But of course, if they're happy with it, like the treaty stays there.
Yeah, exactly. No reason to cancel something good if you're still happy with it. Yeah, it's funny how treaties kind of like developed into this, what it is now, that players will get to experience when we go live. Because it was originally slated to be much smaller, really just focused on the goods transfer part, because we wanted to preserve the original functionality that we had in the game with the trade routes. And then it kind of like, I guess ballooned, because like people were saying like, wouldn't it be nice if we could also do X with it?
Yeah, like
everybody was kind of agreeing, and like nodding, and like
Or like, let's start with just goods, and then, but what if you could offer an alliance? And then, what if we could also do this? And just become a whole thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
But we're very happy where it is. I think a lot of people will recognize the general kind of system being very similar to like things that you have seen in other games like Total War and Civilization. That's obviously where we had some references from, but we wanted to give it our own spin. We wanted to put a little bit more to it, and that's where these ideas of binding period and penalties from withdrawing come from. There's also the idea of non-fulfillment. So essentially, say that you have a treaty where you're supposed to transfer some goods to another country. If you're suddenly not able to do so, that will mean that you're in non-fulfillment to this article in the treaty. And if you stay like that too long, it will essentially freeze the whole other side of the treaty, and the other part will not be bound to do anything that they promised until you are again fulfilling your end of the bargain.
Yeah, I think in general we can say, I think this is not an overstatement. I think we are maybe a bit more systemic than like these other examples from like other games that you mentioned. It really feels a bit more rooted in the simulation and the rest of the game, to me at least. Yeah, the update should be out soon, guys. As soon as it is out, we will inform you that it is actually there.
Out of frame, maybe. Sorry. Another thing we also do is if you have a treaty, like I said, if you have a treaty and you have the binding period, but you're really not happy with it, I mean, you could withdraw ahead of time. That would give you penalties. You can also try to renegotiate it. This will let you tweak the details on the treaty. If you don't want to be sending wine, you can, I don't know, send coffee instead. Maybe that's better for you. Of course, the other side needs to agree to this new treaty, and it will replace the old one. So you can't do this unilaterally, but it's a way out if you find yourself in a bind with one of these treaties.
Plus, what is going to be part of Charters of Commerce when it comes to treaties in comparison to the free version?
Of course.
So because the base version of this, which basically replicates all the old functionality and adds a bit more is part of the free update. But we do have some articles that are going to be exclusive to Charters of Commerce, which we can maybe quickly talk about.
Yes. So here we have the list of articles you can pick between. And generally speaking, the articles that were already diplomatic pacts or actions before, they are, and have been transferred over to treaties, they are still part of the base game with the update 1.9. But we also added a few new things. So with the changes to the world market, there's more emphasis on subventions and tariffs. So we have 2 articles where you can say that the country is not allowed to set tariffs or subventions on specific goods.
Yeah, which in turn, of course, makes it easier for your goods to actually enter their market, right? Like that's the point.
So there's those 2. There's also this idea of a non-colonization agreement. This is essentially says that this country is not allowed to colonize a specific strategic region.
Yeah,
so if you have your aim on colonizing some part of the world and you don't want this other great power to interfere in your plans, then you can come to an agreement and let them have something else instead.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that we got that one in because it feels so like appropriate for the time. You know,
definitely.
It's like the great powers like discussing among themselves basically what to conquer next, and I'm gonna take this from you, and if you give me that, and so on. It feels very very appropriate to me.
Yeah, I think this was one of the early ones we really settled on about new things we wanted to do because it feels so natural to the system.
Yeah, for sure.
We also have prohibit trade with world market article, which again is tied to the world market. And essentially, I mean, it does what it says. If you have this article, it will block you from trading a specific good with the world market. For whatever strategic reasons you might have to want to do this. Maybe you want to corner the world market for clothes and you don't want some other rival to be doing this. You can put that in. So we have those 4, and we, of course, it's not available here, but we also have the idea of the company monopoly, which ties to some of the changes we're doing to companies, but essentially it lets you set that one of your companies gets a monopoly on a building type on the other country. But
we can talk about that.
That's a good segue.
Yeah, for sure. We've done a lot of changes to companies. Many of which are coming with the free update, but a lot, of course, also is included in the Charters of Commerce DLC. Like the companies are really like the center kind of piece of that DLC, and therefore we've put a lot of attention on that, of course. So we can see here that we have a slightly updated companies panel with a global tab, for example. Maybe that's the first thing to show, the one above, sorry, like the tab. Exactly. Exactly, no worries. So we now have a list of all the present companies in the world, and we can see how they basically, how they compete against each other. Can like sort by profit, for example, and if we were to tick, of course, this would change a bit. Which buildings they have and how many, and then you can go into the details of this. Like, for example, here we have the East India Company, which is actually one of the prime examples because it has undergone quite a lot of changes. Because the East India Company now actually has the headquarters in London, but the country, as we can see here, is still very much a thing. Like the East India Company still exists as a country, but it is tied. Let me open this. Here we can see we've added this information. It is tied to the actual East India Company, because that's of course what historically happened. And then let me go back to the company screen. We see a lot of other things in here, which is first of all the main thing, one of the main features of Charters of Commerce, the company charters, which you can see on the bottom here. And they are accessible from any tab, so you don't have to like click around to the correct tab to get access to them. Very easy to set them up. And those do different things. So we have investment rights, which grants the company the right to establish regional headquarters in other countries where you have foreign investment rights, which will then do a very cool thing, in my opinion, which is kind of drain the target country's coffers and actually reinvest some of the money that they're getting into your own country's investment pool. So if you have a regional headquarter in, for example, Russia, you will transfer some money from their investment into your own investment pool, and you will make use of their investment pool to actually create new levels, like the company will use it, which is very fun to see. We also have trade rights, which basically it just allows the company to go into trade centers, and they can build them, they can run them, and they will profit from the same benefits that the company provides to their buildings, so like all the throughput bonus and so on. So you can have quite efficient trade centers with led by a company. The colonization charter is a very cool one as well. It basically lets the company run a colony in any place that you select. Maybe we can actually show it. So for example, I could say like, okay, East India Company, you can settle in Ivory Coast. This is a neat little change that we've done also. Now colonization actually just requires you to pay for the first initial port. You don't have to do that every time yourself, but you just have it included when creating a colony. And then this goes out, and then now you have this colony active, run by the East India Company. And as soon as they have colonized the full state region, they will actually become a country. This is basically how the East India Company was historically formed. And we have some other examples like the Hudson's Bay Company and also the Russian-American Company, exactly. So yeah, the Russian Alaska is now also, just like the East India Company, tied to a particular company, which is located in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, the colonization rights is definitely one of the charters I'm more excited about to see what people do with.
Yeah, I can't wait to see players go nuts with this and form company countries across the globe. Should be fun to see. Does it also work if the state is split because another power is colonizing the same state? Yes, it does. It's basically just checking, is there anything left in the state region that I have access to colonize? If not, then boom, I'm a country now. And then they become a chartered company subject of yours, which from there on, of course, it follows all the other subject rules. Like if you make them independent or more dependent, then their status will change. We actually had a funny bug where when you would reduce the autonomy of a chartered company, the executive, which is a new role that we added, the leader of the company would actually become your main country ruler, which was a fun one to debug because it was a bit strange to see that happen, but this should be fixed now. So you are probably not gonna have to endure this. I think OPP has a question. I'm curious to see.
Let's run.
Yeah, exactly. Tempted to just call it a day here.
Stream is cancelled.
But while he's typing, maybe I'll just quickly mention the executives. So this is like a cool little addition that we've done. We've always said like we wanted to do this, right? Like when we release companies, we always said like, hey, let's put leaders in there that actually have an influence also in politics, which we can see they are, of course, attached to the industrialists. And depending on how well the company that they are leading is doing, they will actually provide political influence to this IG, which is pretty cool to see. We have some historical ones, right? Like, for example, this fella here. And then, of course, for the free version, we also have like generically generated characters, but all the historical ones come with custom DNA and stuff. So it's a nice little addition that we've made, in my opinion. Yeah. The question is, will you wear a wig? I really like the reference. One of my favorite videos, probably. I'm not sure I will. Maybe
when will you wear a wig?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe when Victoria 4 gets announced or something like that. I don't know. 15 years in the future.
Executives, though, on the topic of funny bugs,
Yeah.
I think we had one of the more Victoria bugs this dev cycle. There was a thing where when a revolution ended, apparently all executives in your country got executed.
Yeah.
That was
exactly what you would expect in Victoria. Yeah. But yeah, we unfortunately had to patch that out. I'm sorry, guys. There was a question, how much effect do the executives have on the output, not counting company prosperity? Actually, that depends on their traits. Let's see if this guy has one. Nope. Actually, not one of the new ones. We've added some traits for the executives, which makes them good, basically, at leading companies. And then that will result in higher throughput bonus from the company. But apart from that, if they don't have that, like this guy, for example, then it is just a prosperity gain, which is also changed. So prosperity is now a drifting value with a target value. We can see, for example, here, it's trending towards 79 at the moment. And we can also see that the popularity of the CEO contributes with 2 points per week, in this case, towards that growth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What more changes do we have? We have some war changes.
We do have some more changes. Those might be a bit trickier to show
display
off right
properly
now.
here.
But we can try, maybe, in theory. If you want to, maybe you can set a scenario up, like the Russia-China border, maybe, for example. Or, well, India would be better, of course, but that's going to be tricky.
Yeah, essentially, like, you've complained a lot about, and understandably, because it was hard to deal with, but we used to have a lot of fronts in warfare, right?
Yeah.
And this made it hard to deal with. They were unpredictable, and it was all kinds of messy. So we really wanted to try to tackle that somewhat, and to reduce the number of fronts we have as one of the main things we're changing here. So there's a screenshot, I think, in the dev diary, which shows this war here, which used to be like, I don't know, 30, like a lot of fronts. And after the changes, it's like 2.
2, yes.
And it's because like one is like over here, and the other one is all of these.
So basically what we do is like we can now skip one state region. So if there was one state in between 2 previously separate fronts, they are now merged into one, which helps tremendously with managing the amount of fronts. Yeah, and we're going to keep an eye on this, of course, to see your feedback once you get your hands on it. But internal tests have been really, really positive on this. So we do think this is the right direction. We may want to tweak it a little bit, maybe make it distance-based. That was an alternative that we've thought about investigating. But yeah, so yeah, we're definitely open for feedback and are willing to adjust, obviously. But this should already make a big step forward in terms of like war just simply not being as frustrating anymore. We've done some other things, of course, on the military side, like the military axis that we were lacking for a while. This is actually also tie in, of course, with a treaty. So you can set up a new military axis article in your treaty. And this will grant you or your troops the access rights to march through a neutral territory which is not involved in war, and then open a new front that way. So our maybe the main use case was like the Prussia and the Schleswig-Holstein question, to see, basically, because before you had to do a naval invasion, and now you can actually secure a military access and go through a neutral country in order to get there.
So it's Britain, but like,
of course. Yeah, exactly. I think you can get the idea. And this should also, of course, like not just in this case, but generally, whenever you feel like you have a strategic opportunity to actually open a new front, which would be separate, to draw some troops away, or simply open a new front with, like, I don't know, your quick forces to march onto Paris quicker or whatnot, then you can use that. Exactly. What else did we do?
Yeah, so while on the topic of war, there's one thing about treaties I didn't really mention, which is that...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have this entry point for treaties, which is what we've shown, where you can like negotiate a treaty with the other part. But alternatively, you can also do it. Let's just get some war going here. We added a new war goal, which is enforce treaty article, and this, well, it does what it says. Essentially, it lets you pick among the treaty articles that we have. And it lets you enforce them on the other country without them having really much of a say about it, as long as you win the war. This substitutes the old war reparations. So what used to be war reparations is now an enforced money transfer article. And it should let you make a lot more cool peace deals, I guess, with wars. And for instance, we were talking about the whole idea of non-colonization agreement. You could enforce that on one of your great power rivals, or likewise with the prohibit trade with world market. So this should give you a lot of freedom on how you wage war, and if you want to do it through a treaty, diplomatically, or if the other part doesn't accept it, if you have to go to war.
Yeah. In general, this should also just make economic warfare better, right? Like this was a big goal that we had, of course, with this implementation, and I think we've done a fairly good job, and it's definitely something we can build upon in the future, which should be fun. Yeah. We have another thing, actually, that we should maybe talk about, which is prestige goods.
Ooh,
So
yes.
companies got another tool. Actually, I realize also we haven't even mentioned the last two company charters. We can maybe briefly mention them. The one being the industry rights, which basically just grants this company access to another kind of industry. They are scripted. So we basically made a selection of which industries they should be able to go into. Where we could, we've based this on like historic expansions, and where not, we've basically gone with like vertical integration, which seems appropriate. And the last one is monopoly rights. Monopoly rights come in two flavors, one for companies and one for countries. And they both do a similar thing. Basically, it prohibits other actors to build the same building type. So in this case, for example, if we were to grant the Hudson's Bay Company a monopoly on logging camps, they would be the only one that could build it. And also it increases the prices for goods of these building types, which should then get a higher revenue for the company. So this is a pretty good tool to increase the productivity of the company, for example. Let's maybe go to, if we check the game.
Meanwhile, I think we're getting some reports that the update is out. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing a message from Pelly yet, but
there's some comments about it downloading.
All right.
But
let's see.
yeah, if you have it, go download it. We'll be here for a little bit more.
Exactly. We're gonna be here for another 30 minutes, and then we're also gonna enjoy the update, obviously, and then gonna be on Discord, enter forums, and Reddit to answer any questions, get feedback, and so on. Yeah. So let's see if we actually have a prestige good yet. No. Yeah, of course not, because they are not at 100 prosperity yet. I'm just so used to having my cheated version where you can immediately enable it. But yeah, I'm afraid we're not going to be able to show them in the world market, but we can show in here the potential for prestige goods. Or maybe this would be a better one. Because this is actually a historical flavored one. So the East India Company has Bengal opium as a prestige good. And what this means, if they have enough prosperity, 100, then they will start producing this good in all the building types that would produce this good, the base good of this. So in this case, opium. So all opium plantations will start producing Bengal opium if they belong to the East India Company. And prestige goods do a couple of things. They, first of all, they increase your trade advantage on the world market, which means they are more easily sellable on the world market, pretty much. They are more desired by other countries, basically. And the same is true for pops. Like if they have a prestige good available, let's say champagne, in the luxury drink section, then they will shift some of their spendings towards wine because the prestige good is there and they are wanting to consume the prestigious good, obviously. So they will move away from coffee and tea and move into wine consumption a bit more. It also increases obsession chances for every percent, basically, that pops consume a good. And it increases throughput bonuses in buildings that consume these goods. So, for example, if we had a prestigious wood, and this would be used in our tool manufacturer, they would be profiting from the higher quality of the wood that they are using. And the military, of course. The military also profits from having prestige goods as input goods. So any military goods that you provide, the higher the percentage of prestige goods among them will contribute to offense and defense and I think morale recovery bonus. So lots of things to do with companies and prestige goods. Obviously, we've heard the feedback of wanting to rename prestige goods. This is not going to come with the release version, but we hear you and we will work on it soonish. I can't give you an exact timeline when this will come to you, but we're definitely aware and we'll be working on it. So
You can, though. Name your treaties however you like.
Yes, very good title. No, I like the 3 edition. It's like Treaty of Eternal Friendship 3. It has been cancelled 2 times before. Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see what you all do with all these systems, with treaties. How this shakes up MP, for instance. Looking forward to that.
If you're not getting the update, restart Steam. That should usually help. But of course, I can't check from here if it's actually there or if people are just, I don't know, trolling. Cool.
What does the DLC do that the 1.9 does not?
So, prestige goods, charter, company charters, monopolies. What else was there?
Characters.
The characters. A bunch of new companies. We are introducing 15 paid companies with DLC and 6 free companies. As we usually do, we do this like split so that everybody gets to profit from some new companies. And in this DLC, of course, since it's so focused on companies, we said like, okay, let's do a bunch here.
We have the new articles for the treaties, of course.
Yep. I think that's about it.
And you can get the DLC either standalone or as part of the expansion pass too, which includes more DLCs that we'll be releasing later this year.
Yeah, exactly. If you're curious about what's in there, there's basically some teasers about what kind of content is going to be in the other packs, which are coming this year. So check it out on Steam if you're curious about that. And then I think there's also like a discount on the whole package, of course. So let's maybe see if we have any burning questions from people. I was planning to actually answer more, but like we got a bit carried away from, of course, trying to explain all the new mechanics and so on.
We, of course, also have some historical treaties in the game that we tried to, as accurately as possible, represent. Oman here is a big scammer. Got a treaty port for a measly 100 per week. And a lot of these, like the team went to some good extents to try to get historical sources on what was happening and try to convert them as accurately as possible to the game. So we hope you enjoy looking through those. And
Yeah. Yeah, we've gotten some feedback like, hey, doesn't that seem a bit low? And we were like, no, we did the math.
That's how it was.
It's how it checks out. So yeah, it was quite interesting to see that.
I have a question. I just tuned in, so could you repeat everything?
Yeah.
So, I'm Alex. No.
I'm Lino. Yeah. There was something here which is right down your alley because you added it. How do we use the seed? I'm assuming they mean the RNG
Oh, yes.
seed.
Yes.
A new functionality comes with the free update, and there we see the seed.
It's over there. It's 15830174495. So if you guys want to play this seed for some reason, you can. But okay, what does the seed do? The seed, if you're not familiar with like RNG, random number generator, the RNG is essentially just like a sequence of a lot of numbers, and then every time the game needs to do some random result, it will ask for a number from that list. And the seed is essentially what generates this list. So if you use the same seed, then you'll get the same list. And this is mostly useful for if you want to make sure you have the same initial conditions, because there are some parts of the initialization in the game which are random. So with the same seed, you would get the same results every time when you're starting the game. Yeah. Alternatively, you could also use this for an observer game where you're just looking at how the world progresses. It's important to note, though, that some people have some misconceptions about this, but when the player interacts with the game, that advances the random number generator and ends up changing all results. So don't expect you to set a seed and then, like in 1907, the result of your law enactment to be like that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But for those of you who like to re-roll the start of the game to get your specific IG leader, like this should hopefully help a little bit with that. And also for modders, I expect this to be useful.
Yeah, exactly. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I see potential for like speedrun with like seeded runs, you know, something like that. That could be fun if that develops or not.
Yeah, Game Zone Quick is coming up, so
yeah, exactly.
If someone wants to sign up, like I would love to see you there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, you set well. Now we're already in game, but the way you set this is that when you're going into the game, before you select which of the like modes you have. There's a little box that says like RNG seed. It's behind the game rule, so you have to enable it. But yeah.
Yeah. I saw a question about how military supply works, because that has also undergone some changes. You can just easiest way is to just open an army, I think, and then check, because supply now affects organization. I can't really properly show it here right now, which is a shame. Because we're not running out of supply. But yeah, supply affects organization now. So for example, if your usual organization target would be set to 100, but your supply status is only 50%, so only 50% of the goods are available to this army, then the organization target will also be set to 50. So supply should be have a bit more teeth now, since organization now also affects all important combat stats, pretty much. We did some changes there. So yeah, now organization is also drifting value. And for example, if we were to, maybe we can just do that. No, can we not? Okay, not do that. I was thinking of retiring him, but yeah, sadly we can't. Yeah, then you would see that this value would change to the new target value, and then it's going towards that value instead of jumping there, which was causing quite a lot of issues before. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I saw a question about is diplomatic treaties locked with the DLC? It is not. Diplomatic treaties are part of the free 1.9 update. The DLC adds a few more articles to them, though. So
exactly. So
they give
only
you more.
Getting more.
Yeah, they give you more options to play around with.
Yeah.
There was. Did you add the seed thing to help debug things? Maybe. You'll never know. No, but it does also help us internally. If QA finds some specific bug that happens, not always, having a seed in an observer game lets you replicate those conditions more easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
What about several agreements with states? Are there any plans to implement this in the future? I'm assuming you mean like not just bilateral, but like multi-country agreements. It's of course something we've talked about, but there's no concrete plan at this point. It's like you're really increasing the difficulty of implementation.
yeah, so like to be clear, you can have multiple treaties with,
Oh, yeah, of course.
with the same country.
Of course.
But specifically having multiple countries be involved in the same treaty, it's a whole other level of complexity, and it changes a lot of like how the system would work. Like a lot of the articles don't really make sense in that context. We really like the idea. We would love to tackle it at some point. We might use treaties as a base for it, but it's a lot more convoluted to do that compared to just like bilateral treaties.
Yeah, exactly. First bug report, the tax and wages sliders look different. Is it normal? Yes, it's completely normal. We've updated the graphics to basically make it a bit more consistent with the other places. You will see in the tariffs and subventions, these look very similar. How's performance now? It should be roughly the same. This, as always, comes with a big grain of salt. Performance will be different on different setups every time. It really depends a lot on the hardware and the combination of hardware also in some cases. So hard to say for sure, but it should be roughly on par with 1.8. But also I want to highlight that this comes with a significantly stronger AI on the economic side. Like we see in our observer games that we've run, we see a lot higher GDP development from AI. So basically, like if we didn't have that, performance would be significantly improved because the trade performance was quite bad in the old system, and now it's much faster. But we're seeing the benefits in terms of AI just keeping up way better than before.
Yeah. So someone asking about the number of shaders, I think that's about 3,000 something, so it should be done after that.
Yeah.
When loading the game.
Yeah. Have any state resources been changed? Yeah, definitely, but I don't know the details. I know oil has
I was going to mention oil.
More. Yeah, of course.
We increased
That's
oil quite a bit.
Yeah, I think oil supply in general is like, I don't want to say it's almost double, but like it's quite significant. Like we've added a lot more potential oil. Apart from that, like small changes left and right whenever they feel necessary. Like I think one region in Japan got a lead mine, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, like
which
smaller stuff here and there.
Smaller stuff, exactly.
So we did some pop growth changes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we did a bunch of balancing changes in all kinds of places, of course. That's like our usual update, basically process, right? Anything else? Is there prestige historical good for the Amazonian hardwood? I think there is. I think there's, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's rosewood. I'm not 100% on this, so please don't throw me in jail. But I think there's. Yep.
Right, yeah. One thing is that if you remember the old system, mass migrations, they would happen when you had a trade route, but now we don't have trade routes anymore, so that has changed. The new system is able to track what countries are trading with each other, and so like we've just substituted that check, so it works through the world market now.
Yeah, right. Good point. Are you running the game with Vulkan? Yes, we are. This is, of course, to prevent any potential crashes or freezes, due to the Windows update, which has been quite common. We also put out some information in our known issues post, So if you are affected by this, then like if your PC is freezing a lot or like crashing, then please check our known issues list. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we've added the renderer change in the settings menu so that you can easily change it without having to go through like console commands.
Yeah, just note that after changing, you need to restart the
Yeah.
game. So
Yeah.
But yeah, take a look at the known issues. If you're having issues, there are some tips there described. Yes.
Yeah. When's the next Dev Diary? We're probably putting something out on Thursday. We usually do next week, Thursday, I should say. We usually do this was the first week, and here's what we want to kind of like address. So I think next week is the next one, if I'm not completely off.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Do you have a vision for the next major updates?
I mean,
well,
yes.
I mean,
are we gonna tell you?
yeah, exactly.
Not yet.
Yeah.
You'll have to. Oh, this.
Yeah, let's focus on this update first, and then we'll talk about the next one, of course. But this is a long time away. So yeah, let's focus on getting this release out of the door, making sure it works for everybody, and fix some bugs, because there are always some bugs, obviously. So yeah. Also know that there is transit rights. It would probably be good to focus more on roads and railways in a more meaningful way. Yeah, it would be cool to actually go deeper in this. Martin and I have discussed often like a kind of like a logistics rework and making this more impactful. But this is a really complicated issue. If you want to track like, oh yeah, from all the 50 states in Russia, like where do my goods go via which route? That's a heck of a challenge in terms of performance. So we would need to really investigate how that would be feasible. It's quite the challenge. Yeah.
All the computer science people out there know the traveling salesman algorithm problem issue.
Yeah, exactly. Are we able to see what it's like when playing as a corporation like the East India Company? Nothing there really changes. So East India Company, of course, is playable as before, and you will not really notice big changes there. It really is more of you are now tied to this original company, and if this were to disband, for example, then this would have an influence on you playing as the country. But apart from that, you should basically be able to play like chartered company subjects were playing before. Can you gain recognition from treaties? I think there's a part, right?
Yeah, no. So we have the old new system for recognition, which we added a couple updates back. I don't remember exactly when that was.
Yep.
And we've incorporated a little part of that, which was working through diplomatic actions into treaties, which is the embassy part. So a part of the recognition process works through treaties, but it's not the full thing.
No. Vulkan runs better? Unfortunately, no. So it might even come with a small performance cost. We're actually unsure how much this affects players. It's very hard to track. We're trying to get more data on it, but it's definitely not running better.
We have a cool new main menu illustration here as well.
Oh yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, the artist that has done this has really come through here. They've also done a lot of the event images for the India DLC, if I'm not mistaken, and will continue to work with us in the future as well. So you should be able to look forward to more images from this artist.
Yeah, there's sparks.
Yeah, and like the whole thing is animated. Like you can see the, I don't know how it's called, like the metal thing come down, like the hammer, basically. Like
mechanical hammer, or
I don't know how
whatever
it's
it was called. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
very
nice.
Victorian of us to not know our mechanical
Yes.
hammers.
Yeah, and of course you see some popular or prominent CEOs in the background, because those are quite quite the focus of Charters of Commerce, of course.
The thing I mentioned about the game seed or the RNG seed, there's a game rule here, like I said, custom RNG seed. You can enable that, and then it lets you set something here. So you can do like Shoko, and that will fix the seed to that when you go into the game.
Yeah. Did you remove the ability to see the RGO potential on the map? I'm assuming what you will need to do is to actually open the map panel fold-out. So you will be able to see, like, we folded a lot of map modes into panels. So let me show this. So for example, I was also similarly confused when we added this because I wasn't sure. In this fold-out, you will be able to see different map modes. Wait, let me actually switch to Great Britain. And then we should be able to see this in action for the power blocks in particular. Wait, am I mistaken? No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to click the thing and then you can see the usual, like the mode that you could see before. So this is now a thing in many panels where you see the map. Like you have this, and then you see all these map modes that you can activate while in this panel. A super cool improvement for the interface. So this should be able to show it, I hope. If not, I see you, then I will look into it. If we actually lost a map mode in that way, then that would be unintended, at least. I think.
Yeah. And overall, with this new way of handling map modes, overall, like, we would like to avoid having all the map modes just be available here, because this is a big list that is not very easy to use. So we're always looking at better ways of displaying them. One of them is this, and we'll try to improve that as we go on and add relevant map modes if they are not there and so on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in general, the interface has seen a ton of improvements. It was really cool to see because, like, basically new things came in every day, it felt like. Also on the military side, for example, like the stacking of like the map markers for enemy and allied units, for example, is really awesome, and I don't know how we didn't have that before, because it makes it so much easier to actually just at a glance get the state of the status of a front. It's really nice to see.
Oh, War Machine factories.
Yeah, right.
Some changes there.
That is right. Yeah, we did basically, like, big shout outs to the creator of the Automotive Rework mod that inspired us to do this, because it was a logical idea.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So basically now you can produce cars, planes and tanks in the same building, and engines is its own building. Because before it was quite hard to actually get them to balance right, so you wouldn't like run at I don't know, too many engines or whatnot. So yeah, you now have shifted some of these production methods, cars being the primary one, so they are also separate from the tanks and planes. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you plan on adding new start dates?
I was just going to read that.
Okay, yeah, then.
No.
Yeah.
Generally, it's a lot of work to keep, with historical research and balancing and all of that, to keep like a start date working properly. Adding other ones, they tend to not be used nearly as much. Definitely if they're later, because people want to like play the longest period possible. And it just like splits our attention between multiple map modes or start dates. We don't think it is the right decision for Victoria, so we're likely just staying with the single start date we have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we would need a very, very good reason to actually do something like that. It's a lot of work to get it done initially and then to maintain it, like you said. Mm. Okay. I'm not seeing anything that stands out. Oh yeah, so the car PM isn't in the engine building. Yeah, exactly. So the car PM has been moved outside. I've noticed that some map modes get washed out when one location has an outlier statistics. Any attempt to improve this? If you have a specific case, I would really appreciate a message on any social media platform, and then you can just ping me. It's Hannibal, H4N1BAL, and then I will take a look at this. Cool. I mean, it's 4:30. I think that's about time that we wrap it up. Charters of Commerce is apparently out. There's a lot less activity in chat, so I'm assuming everybody's playing.
We're,
so go and play it, check it out, leave some feedback on the forums, on Discord, on Reddit. We will be hanging out there to gather feedback, to see what we need to fix, obviously. And we're just there to chill, have a good time, enjoy the release date, and then we can call it here.
Yeah.
All right.
See you, everyone.
See you, bye.